visualization strategy, how to tackle the visualization, where to start. And in each of those phases you could apply some of the methods and techniques available. What I would like to do now is to illustrate this again with another example. So in cartography there is one very famous map. It depicts Napoleon's campaign to Moscow. Now again, Napoleon was a French emperor around 1800, and he was battling the whole of Europe, and on one of his battles he wanted to conquer Moscow in Russia. And for this purpose, in many years later, someone, it was 1868, someone, Minard he was called, created this particular map of that whole event. And what does it show us? It shows us the path Napoleon took when he went from the border of Moscow towards Moscow, and Moscow is at the far right of the map, and the size, the thickness of the line tells us something about the number of soldiers he took with him. And why is this story so interesting? It's also very dramatic, because he left with about 500,000 soldiers, but he came back only with about 10,000. So there were dramatic losses. And that's what this picture is telling. Here you can see a little map of Europe with an indicator where this map is situated. Now, many people have been writing and telling and talking about this map. And a very important figure in information visualization, in graphics, Tufti, he wrote several very interesting books which I can recommend. He said, well, this is maybe the best graphic ever made. And it's a narrative graphic, so a storytelling graphic, in time and space, showing many different variables, which have all been nicely integrated in this map. So, if you look at it, you are not even aware that you look into a multi-dimensional space. So let's see, what can we do? Because what I have been trying to do, to try to use this particular illustration to explain the explorative things and the geovisualization I just have been talking about. Okay, how can we play with this map, use modern technology, because again, it was created in 1869, then no computers, just some paper and pens. What can we do? So, in this case, you see two snapshots of an animation showing you the path taken. So you can link the progress through space with time. Many people have been trying to create an alternative map, making it better than what Minard has been creating. But so far, I would argue nobody managed to create a better graphic. I mean, we were able to use color or different visualizations, but never better, I would say. Here you see an example of the path, and I projected this in Google Earth. So the path was being digitized and projected in the Google Earth, and you could play with the current satellite imagery, so the current land use and the path. Here, what has been done since he left, he took him half a year, this whole trip, so to say. But what I have done is use the background of the map to tell you something about the season, about the climate, because he not only lost people in battle, but he lost most people due to illness and coldness. So this is again our two snapshots from an animation, and the background changes over time. So when he started in summer, the background is green, and the more we get into the winter, the more whitish the background gets, so that you have an impression of the conditions under which the soldiers were moving. Those two maps, which we see now, just show you where he was with his troops at certain moments in time. So it means that he just left some troops in locations to defend supplies and things on, and that's how he moved. So that again gives you a completely different picture. The bottom two maps show the path where he went. Man, that's the map from this Minard guy. Only the numbers are not the thickness of the lines, but have been translated into the big dots. If you study the data, you also have to deal with geographical names. And again, the area which we're studying has been occupied by different countries. I mean, they have, of course, the Napoleon is French, so there might be a French version of the names, there's a German version, a Russian version, a Lithuanian version. So again, the writing of the names might give you interesting problems and a different view on things as well. Just some examples how others depicted this map. This is from a school atlas. So just a red dotted line telling you where he went. This is also from a school atlas, but someone who also wants to add some narrative to it. And the arrows are just added text to it, and they tell you briefly what happened at certain locations. I don't expect you to read this right now, so I'll skip over to the next one. This is the same campaign, but now we see details from a military atlas. So military people who studied the campaign, and they added divisions and sizes and generals and colonels, everything to it, which is of interest of the military. Others, this is a representation from games. So you can buy games and play war games, and then the campaign might look like this, or like this. In the beginning I was talking about those multiple views when we discussed this brushing. And actually, the guy who created this map, Mr. Minard, he did something similar long before we even thought of linked views. Because below the map is a kind of diagram representing the temperature. This temperature is linked to the black line, the way back from Moscow to back to Europe, so to say. And it shows you that most of the time those soldiers, and imagine they were walking, had to walk about several thousand kilometers below zero temperatures. It went almost down to minus 40 Celsius, so imagine. Not a nice place to walk. Napoleon's data, again, I said it's a famous map, even though you might never heard of it, but other people have used it to demonstrate the capabilities of their software. And this was a group of people demonstrating information visualization software. And they split the campaign up in little bits, depending on the number of troops. Those are the blocks you see. But the most interesting thing they did, they said, okay, let's do it differently. Again, this alternative visualization. Let's map it in a diagram and a map. So the diagram below, what do we see? On the one hand, on the horizontal axis we see time, and on the vertical axis